Arsenal have been building under Mikel Arteta. Because on the other side is a team that has defined dominance. This is your Arsenal versus Manchester City Carabao Cup preview. This is it, people. Arsenal versus Man City, Wembley Stadium, Carabao Cup Final. The last time Arsenal were in the final of this competition was, I think, 2018 or thereabouts, or 2017, and it was the same opposition. But that day we were smashed 3-0 by Man City. The final before this was in 2011, where we played against Birmingham City. And we all know how that panned out. A late Obafemi Martin's goal, and our hearts were broken after that mistake by Laurent Koscielny. But on Sunday evening, 5:30 to be exact, I'm going to lock on to Man City. And in all honesty, this game is so much more than just lifting a trophy. Because if you look at Arsenal right now, this is a team that has been knocking on the door of greatness. This is a team that has been on the cusp of something amazing. This campaign, just 3 losses, close to 50 games played, and basically matching the win record that we had in 07-08. We are competing in Europe. We just beat Bayer Leverkusen in the Champions League round of 16. We did a recap on it by a couple of panelists. And now we have a clash against Sporting CP. In the FA Cup, we've gone all the way to the quarterfinals. And on the other side of the international break, we're going to take on Southampton, a team that we're very familiar with in St. Mary's, before playing Sporting CP, and of course resuming our league phase football with Bournemouth. However, a question still lingers. Can Arsenal deliver in the biggest moments? If you look at Arteta's time at the club, obviously he started from the trenches when he took over from Unai Emery. That was a very rough time for us back in the day. And his first season, he won the FA Cup, no doubt. Or his first half season, he won the FA Cup. But in the first full campaign in Arsenal, he finished in 8th place. And for the first time in many years, we missed out on Europe entirely. Remember that there was even a period when we felt that European football was our birthright. Top 4 is a trophy. But we got to a point in time where we didn't even qualify for Europe at all. And of course, 21-22, that was when the likes of Emile Smith-Rowe and Bukayo Saka really stepped up their game. And we finished in 5th place, where we just narrowly missed out to Tottenham and Antonio Conte. That 3-0 victory they gave us really played a heavy role in us that 3-0 victory we suffered against them played a very big role in us missing out on Champions League football. But Arteta did something amazing in 23-23, and that was the year where we actually went all the way and were this close from winning the Premier League. We are leading the table for 287 days or some crazy amount like that. But unfortunately, we did not just get it over the line because obviously there was a juggernaut called Man City breathing down our necks. The same Man City became a threat to us in 23-24. We even did better than 22-23 actually. I think we had 91 points that campaign or thereabout. Was it 89 points? I can't remember. But one key thing to note was that all it took was a loss to Aston Villa in April when Unai Emery and his hordes came to the Emirates. And when Man City overtook us, they didn't look back. You most had our moment when we had won in Old Trafford, and of course they were playing a very tough game against Tottenham away. With the game relatively poised at 1-0, Son Heung-min had a chance to equalize. But of course, you know what happens. Stefano Ortega made a very good save, and Haaland went on to score a penalty. Now killed that game. The final game, we smashed Everton 5-0, but it wasn't enough because Phil Foden did what was enough for them in the game against West Ham to grant the victory. And that's how we missed out. Last season was all shades of horrible, man. Like, yes, we went for Benjamin Sesko. He didn't agree. We need to spend one more time in Leipzig. Then Gabriel Jesus had an injury in the summer and required like a small surgery. I think that put all his eggs in the Jesus and Harvest basket. January comes around, Jesus has an ACL injury. February comes around, Kai Havertz suffers a hamstring injury. And prior to that, we also lost Bukayo Saka, to a hamstring injury, and so it was a hamstring tear. This made us use Mikel Merino, a defensive midfielder, to actually play as a centre forward. And yes, he did well in occasions, but it was unfortunate. We had to manage with him, and of course, finished in second place for 3 seasons in a row. We finished in second place, and this season, a whole lot changed. First things first, our long-standing director of football, Edu, left to join Evangelos Marinakis at Nottingham Forest, and that paved the way for us now to get done better, you know. And we all know what that man has done. His first signing, Martin Zubimendi, the world was kept secret. Then they got Kepa Arrizabalaga, then they got Noni Madueke, you got Christian Mosquera, you got Iberi Chieze, you got Christian Nogard, you got Vitor Gyökeres, and the last one that came around was Piero Hincapié. You know, and he also did well to let some folks go. Chris Nelson went out on loan. Beshami Lukonga also left as well. Then we also had Fabio Vieira who left as well. You know, Tavares, a couple of players that were put from that David. So without further ado, I think it's time to look into our slides, and we can't look any further than Arteta's press conference. You know, so our gaffer, as expected, went in front of the journalists and received a whole lot of questions about Arsenal taking on Man City. And as expected, the very first thing was asked about, maybe looking through the transcript, was injury news. When he said, we have another training session for Saturday, so the ones that are in contention hopefully can give us good news. And when he was specifically asked about Martin Odegaard and Julian Timber's availability, he said, we have another session, so let's see if they can make it. One thing we have known right from time is that Arteta is someone that never gives out information, especially when it comes to player injuries and fitness updates. It's just something that even we as Arsenal fans are used to. Obviously, I can understand the rationale behind it, where you don't want to let your opposition know what you're doing so that they can plan against certain players. But at the same time, it's really frustrating because we as Arsenal fans are also hopeful that Arteta is going to bring exact players that we want to see in the final match. Obviously, he was not asked again about the question that lingered on everybody's mind up until today, on whether Kepa Arrizabalaga is starting the game. And the manager said that we will see how everybody is after the training session, then we'll make the decision. This is one that I have my concerns about, in all honesty. I like Kepa. Kepa is a very decent goalkeeper. He has experience, played in Athletic Bilbao, played in Chelsea, played in Real Madrid, played in Bournemouth. But Arsenal, he has had a couple of games as well, mainly in the domestic cup competitions, and he has been decent, He's certainly no Raya, for sure. But Kepa has been decent. Kepa has managed to do well in some games, while in some other games, there's been a lot to be desired. Like when you think about, hey Rory, welcome, bro. How you doing, man?
Not too bad actually, bro. Yourself?
I'm chilled. I'm chilled. So I was just talking about the Arteta's press conference, and you just came in at the right time. Who would you like to start in goal for the Carabao Cup final?
Oh, I knew this question was coming. You, you know what it is, right? Obviously, I'm gonna say Raya because it's a cup final. You want to play your best players, especially when you've won nothing in 6 years now. You want to start your best team. Now, yes, I know Man City are going to be starting Trafford in goal by the looks of it, but at the same time, right? I feel like because Arsenal almost have to. I mean, it feels weird because I think both teams almost have to win this final because if Arsenal win it, you've got a momentum shift from
Yeah,
now until the end of the season. And you've got Man City, who, I mean, they're out of the Champions League. Winning the Premier League this season looks unlikely despite them having a game in hand. The FA Cup, they've got Liverpool. So this could be their only opportunity of winning a trophy this season. So it's almost like a massive game for both, if you ask me. So I think if Arsenal are like serious about winning this competition, then it would be David Raya to start in goal. We've seen over the course of the season that David Raya has pulled off some brilliant saves, like key, crucial saves to keep us in games to prevent us from dropping points. However, I'll say this though: I won't, I won't be mad if in the last stages of the game, when we reach extra time, and he brings on Kepa for penalties. I don't mind that personally. But for me, it's David Raya all day. Like you start him sorry in the final. You start your best players, and it's that simple, really.
and it kind of puzzles me because yes, we've had the likes of Nogard, Musquera play for many many rounds in the earlier rounds, and when we're going to this final, we're not even talking about them. We're saying that we want our Mendes and our Rices and our Gabriels and our Salibas to play. So why is there some sentiment towards the goalie when that's even a very critical position in what we want to do?
It might be in his contract. I don't know. I could be wrong. I could be speculating, but I think it might be something to do with his contract and the fact he has to play a certain amount of games in the cup competitions. Um, I think this is where, obviously, as I said, you start your best players. There's no like ifs, there's no buts. I don't think any Arsenal fan would necessarily start Kepa in goal. It's
Yeah.
almost like, well, what's the manager going to do in it?
Mhm.
And I think he will start Kepa at the weekend because he is the cup goalkeeper, and in his words, he would say, "Oh well, good reputation in finals because he I believe won Chelsea the Super Cup, if I'm not
Mhm.
mistaken. But then again, at Wembley, I mean, he's known for refusing to come off and ballooning a penalty over the bar in a penalty shootout. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's my only issue. Um, but yeah, as I said, like for me, if we stand, I'm not saying we don't stand a chance if we start Kepa in goal. By the way, because listen,
Mhm.
everyone needs to step up, right? I mean, the likes of Gabriel, the likes of um, Saliba, Saka,
Easy.
most definitely have to step up. Eze needs to step up as well. Trossard, likewise. Right, all these players could have stinkers, and that could be potentially the reason why we lose this final, not Kepa. So for me, everyone has to step up to the plate. I'm not saying the goalkeeper is the be all and end all, but I think for this sake, you go with your best goalkeeper, you go with your best team. But the thing is, Arsenal have always had a tendency of not starting goalkeepers, starting their first choice goalkeeper in these cup competitions. Like, you think back to the FA Cup final in 2017. I'm not going to say 2020 because Leno was injured, but in the
Yeah,
2017 Cup final, we started Ospina ahead of Czech.
yeah.
In the
Europa League final, we need to put a check ahead of Ben Leno.
yeah, exactly.
And I think that one was even worse because Czech was already offered a technical director job at Chelsea. So
Yeah,
clearly his mind was already gone.
Yeah, I think Fabianski started the 2014 FA Cup final, didn't
Yeah,
he?
ahead of Chesney.
Head of
Yeah,
Chesney,
yeah.
yeah. I don't actually remember the last time. I think it was probably the 2015 FA Cup final was the last time I remember us starting our first choice goalkeeper. So I think for me, Arteta will go with Kepa in goal. But what I would do, it's definitely Raya, like 100%.
Yeah.
I would love to know if anyone from this fan base has actually said Kepa should start in goal for this one ahead of David Raya. If you're one of them, then I'd like to know the reasoning, really, because it'd be intriguing to know.
I agree. I agree. And of course, he was asked about the availability of Martin Odegaard and Julian Timber, and all he said is, "Let's see if they can make it." Why is he always very coy when it comes to giving out information about the fitness of his players?
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like, well, if Timber, I'm just using Timber as an example, right?
Yeah,
Um, Timber could be fit. He's set to be fit. He could be in the squad. In Arteta's words, it usually means he's not in the squad. Whereas, when it's vice versa, somehow they come back in the squad. It's a bit strange to me. I'll be interested to see whether or not Timber does start the game. I don't think Odegaard will start the game, although no one Arteta
yeah,
will end up coming on. But Timber, I think, could play a huge part. I think this is where he is needed
yeah.
because of what he brings defensively.
hmm
Um,
And I don't think I'm going to be comfortable seeing Ben White play against Jeremy Doku.
yeah, against Doku as well. I'm not really too confident in. Don't get me wrong, Ben White is I rate him still, but I think in this sort of magnitude, I just don't think he's fit enough to play. In fact, if it goes all the way to extra time, he would have 120 minutes in his legs, which I don't think will do him good whatsoever. So I
Yeah.
think you start Timber for this one, regardless whether he is 100% fit or not. If he's in the squad, I think you still start him. I think because I think it is the international break next week, isn't it? We
Yeah,
don't play
after
a game.
this. Mhm.
Yeah, so hopefully he's actually given this international break, Timber. Of course, provided if he doesn't get injured,
Yeah.
touch wood. But if he doesn't get injured on international duty, then I think he should be given the rest, surely, because I think Holland have actually got a couple of right backs in his position that they may start ahead of him. So hopefully Tim will actually get the rest for the next 2 weeks. I do know
Yeah.
Saka and Declan Rice are not
Yeah,
going on.
they've been called up though, but then again, they're useless friendly games. Shouldn't you
Yeah,
arrest them as well?
but they're missing. They're not joining until I think England play their second game, so they
Oh,
won't be playing
nice.
for the first game.
Okay.
So it seems like Tuchel's listened. I mean, I don't know. He might be some spy on social media. Maybe I don't know. He may have a
Yeah.
burner account because he's been screaming for England managers to actually treat our players with ease for once. And
True.
he's actually not just, by the way, Declan Rice and Bukayo Saka. There's I think Morgan Rogers, Dean Henderson. Who else? I can't remember at the top of my head, but I know Morgan Rogers is definitely one of them.
hmm
Uh,
hmm
Pickford might be another one. I'm not sure, but yeah, a lot of players are actually not joining up with England. I think Adam Wharton's another one.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
won't be
I think
joining.
they've been having some injury issues too in recent times.
Yeah.
So there's that as well. Okay, so there was also another question that he was asked, where they asked him about closing the gap between the 2018 final and, of course, where we are now. And I want to give you the lineups for both sides when Arsenal played um, Man City in the Carabao Cup Final of 2018. Henry, welcome. So are you like Henry Kane today?
Yeah.
I see you spotting your Bayern jersey. Okay, so this was the Arsenal squad. We played a 3-4-3 setup. Ospina was in goal. Chambers, Mustafi, Koscielny down. The wing backs were
Nah,
Bellerin,
stop there.
Monreal.
I can't afford to listen anymore. I
the
might have to
midfield,
do it.
the midfield was Xhaka, Ramsey. Then the two attacking midfielders were Ozil, Wilshere. Then Aubameyang was in goal. Then for Man City, they had Bravo in goal. Danilo, Walker, Company, Otamendi, Fernandinho, David Silva, Gundogan, Aguero, Sane, De Bruyne. And of course, we're smashed 3-0. Aguero scored when Bravo played the ball over the top. Then of course, Company and Silva scored. Now, I think we should welcome Henry with this. Looking at the squad we had in 2018 and the squad that Man City had, and looking at the squad we have now and the squad that Man City has, how much of that gap have we closed? And how confident are you looking at both lineups? Harry, you're muted. We're not hearing you. No, we can't still hear you, man. Want to do a sound check?
I don't think you can hear us either.
No. I think you heard my question, right? Not if you did.
I don't think.
Yeah, he heard my question, but for some reason,
All right.
yeah, it's for me. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so Rory, take a shot at that question before Henry answers it. The gap, but how far we have
Yeah,
closed
it's kind of mad when you look at the defense, especially. I mean, the goalkeeper class. I mean, we had blooming. In fact, I can still remember this game.
Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible now. So after Rory speaks,
Okay.
you can go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the likes of Bellerin, who, pre-ACL, I did rate him, but to be honest with you, I think it was evident that, without his pace,
Yeah, it was going to be a challenge for him.
Horrible footballer, to be honest with you. Couldn't cross the road. You got Koscielny, who, let's be honest, I don't know about you guys, but I didn't rate particularly that highly. I know,
I think alongside Mertesacker, he had a good pairing, and it had a decent pairing.
I think he's someone that relied heavily on his pace, and that's the issue. And when he lost that pace, again, he I've never seen a centre back get spun so much in my life.
Yeah.
Mustafi, oh god. He used to rattle me so much,
Mustafi, that guy was a legend, man.
In fact,
Jeez.
I was a youth as well. I think I was, 9, 10, something like that. I had to enjoy him on my TV screen. Every single time that guy would go to ground. I've never seen a centre-back on the floor so many times. It was honestly laughable. And then Monreal, to be fair, I rated him over the years. He actually had a decent season that year. So
yeah, he did actually.
Yeah. And then, midfield, even in the midfield, different class at the time. We obviously have Rice and Zubomendi right now in a double pivot. Although, to be fair, had Ozil that season, but didn't turn up that game whatsoever.
Yeah, he was lost in that game, man.
And also, I'm forgetting Jack Wilshere started that game as well, to be fair.
Yeah, he did.
In all fairness, right, that midfield wasn't too bad.
Yeah, Ramsey, Xhaka, Ozil, Wilshere. Yeah, and then Aubameyang in goal in attack.
As well. Yeah. Ramsey started. So I think, that midfield is not too bad on paper, but it got overrun that day. Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look at the attack. I think you could argue, player for player, we currently have a better attack. But in terms of the way they played, and the way they were set out to, play every week, you could argue that attack we had in 2018 was better. But you look at some of the players like on paper. You've got obviously Aubameyang, unbelievable, and then you go to who even started that day on the right wing. I can't remember actually.
No. It was it was two tens. Ozil and Buishe behind Aubameyang. So Bellerin was the only person that gave us width on the right.
Oh right, so no one. We didn't play out and out wingers that.
No. They're like two tens. They're like what Amorim does at Man U.
Oh right, I thought we reverted back to 4 at the back at the time. I know we started 3 at the back at the start of the season, but I didn't think. Okay, fair enough. But well then, otherwise we'll go to the bench. Then I think we had Welbeck and Iwobi there. So yeah, you compare like what Man City brought on. They had, I'm pretty sure Jesus was in the squad that day as well.
Mm-hmm.
Bernardo Silva in his prime, by the way. I think they brought on. Who else did they bring on? I can't remember. It was like.
So that day they brought on Bernardo Silva when Fernandinho got injured, and they brought on Gabriel Jesus for Sané and brought on Foden for Aguero.
Foden, yeah, he was quite young at the time, wasn't he?
Yeah, was still a youngin, then. But us, Maria had an injury, so they brought on Kolasinac. Then Welbeck came on for Chambers when we now tried to, try to attack. Then he will be came on for Ramsey.
Aubameyang actually missed an early chance as well, which could have easily changed the game.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at, this team, I think you could argue we've got more resilience about us. Like we don't tend to get battered very often, touch wood, but we don't tend to get battered. We stay in the game for a long period of time, which inside I think it was 60 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
In that final, game over. Like City were already 3-0 up. In fact, it was probably over at 2-0. So I think we definitely have some resilience about us, and Arteta will definitely set us up not to, excuse me, not to lose the game. But I think obviously like the golfing class between both teams, from what it was in the past to now, is evidently the defence, and the goalkeeping to an extent. Ospina, not good enough. Although to be fair, like I did prefer him over Czech at one point, but at the same time, he was never good enough when you look at David Raya.
I love his chant though when we wanted to play a goal kick. Oh,
yeah,
Ospina.
I mean, yeah, well done. We'll give him a gold medal for that.
Oh my God! All right, Henry, welcome back, bro. So just we want to talk about the gap between that 2018 squad and what we have now, and how much have we improved as a team.
I think it was daylight and darkness in comparison to what we have right now. I think that team in 2017, 2018 was just a disaster. I think previously we even didn't finish in the Champions League spots. I think the season before, and we were in Europa League, if I remember, that 2017-2018 season. I think looking at the squad list for that final right now, the defense was just was nothing to write home about. I think Koscielny was coming to the end of his time. Mustafi,
I don't know. Sorry, when I think about Mustafi, I think about how Wenger was so adamant on getting him from Valencia.
But he was good at that time. That was the problem. He was good. I also clamored.
World Cup winner as well.
Yeah, I also wanted him to sign him,
Oh,
my days.
But he was found. He was found out. Funnily, I don't think he is the worst defender to have played. At least in the
Sylvester.
last 20 years for Arsenal. I think
I think it will be Schillaci, Sylvester, or Sigan. Although Johan Giroud too was horrible.
Sigan, I don't want to talk about that guy. Let's just leave him.
Put Gallas in there as well.
No, Gallas wasn't that bad.
Gallas
was just rash, but he wasn't that bad. If one of the horrible defenders for Arsenal, you call Sigan, you call Sylvester, you call Mustafi. Yeah?
Yeah, I think Mustafi was arguably worse than Squillaci, you know.
Yeah, but Squillaci was horrible though. It was really horrible. All right, so no problem. So let's go to the next slide. Let's talk about Man City's form. Right now, they are not in the best of form. In the last 5 games they've played, they've had just 1 win, and that win came in the 3-1 victory over Newcastle in the FA Cup. That was the game I thought Newcastle were going to win because actually Bayern scored first, and of course, Savinho scored the funny goal in the Mamouche. But against Real Madrid, both legs, they suffered 2 losses, had the 1-1 draw against West Ham, where in all honesty, I think they were very lucky, West Ham. And of course, the 2-2 draw against Nottingham Forest that no one saw coming. So, Rory, let's talk about the Champions League form. And Henry, you talk about the Premier League form. In the Champions League, where did it go wrong for them against Real Madrid?
I think obviously the first leg evidently cost them, to be honest with you. I think from what I've heard from City fans, and obviously I don't tune into Man City every week, but you look at that back 4 they set out with. I think they played
in the first leg. The first leg they played O'Reilly, Guehi, Diaz, and Kushanov.
Yeah, I think this is where they probably should have started Nunes at right back. I think wasn't he on the bench or was he injured? I don't know.
He was on the bench actually.
Yeah, I think they should have started him, to be honest with you.
Okay, Henry, you want to say something?
I don't particularly think that the defense was the biggest of the problems on the night. I think that was still a good enough defense. I think their problem, their midfield was completely overrun on the day. I think he came in there with 4 wingers and just 2 midfielders against a Madrid team that literally just crammed everybody into midfield and left Vinicius up front. And
but if you want to compare the midfield that Madrid had pound for pound in that game,
it's not about pound for pound. It's not about pound for pound. It's about the system. If you have as Madrid, I don't know if they saw the lineups or basically before they made their decision. But I mean, if you have literally 5 players who are basically stationed just in the midfield, and you have just 2 for City, definitely the midfield is going to be overrun.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, I agree.
I was going to mention that as well. Like, I think this is why they should have started Nunes at right back, so that it accommodates O'Reilly in midfield, so Rodri isn't playing as the lone DM. But I think that was probably like the only thing that went wrong for Man City. I think that the lineup from the off, like, obviously I didn't watch the first leg. I think when City, I'm pretty sure City. No, they weren't on the. Yeah, I was going to say they weren't on at the same time as Arsenal, because Arsenal kicked off at 5:45.
They're on the same time with Chelsea, PSG, and
it's because I was out and I missed quite a bit. So yeah, I didn't have the opportunity to look at the lineups, but from what I saw, they didn't start Nunes at right back, who's probably been one of their most important players so far this season, if you ask me.
Mm-hmm. I think they wanted to go with Kushanov, who is a bit more. It's a bit faster to cope with the pace of Vinicius Junior. I think that was the reason why.
Yeah, but Madrid ended up starting blooming. Who was it? I think it was Brahim Diaz out on the left, or was it?
They just put somebody there. Literally, his job was just to defend.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty clear that Man City wanted to get out of there, not to lose the game, basically, because they knew if they got a result at the Bernabeu, they could do something at their ground. And to be fair, after watching the highlights in the second leg, City played all right with 10 men, and they actually dominated large portions of that game.
Yeah.
So I think, if they would have got that result at the Bernabeu, they could have actually got through, because, this Madrid team, I still stand by that they're not that good.
Yeah, I do agree.
They played well in the first leg, but again, they're nothing special. Like, we managed to dispatch them lot last season, and that was arguably a better Real Madrid side than what they are now. So, listen, I think that's probably what went wrong with Man City. To be honest with you, the lineup and just overall, like the tactics on display. Really, I was really surprised on how Man City set up. Really, and I think I mentioned this before, right? I don't know if I mentioned it on here, but I think this is the problem with signing Premier League proven players, who aren't experienced enough on the big stage, because Guehi hasn't experienced Champions League, right?
Bernabeu. Can I just be a one-off? I think he's a fantastic player.
Well, has it been a one-off for Semenyo? Because I think, again, he scored goals for Man City, but has he looked particularly great in many games this season? I've watched him for Man City, and he doesn't look the same player. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah, I think there's more pressure under him to deliver now compared to when he was in Bournemouth, where he was playing with a free spirit.
Exactly. So when you watch him play, are you significantly impressed with what you're seeing about Semenyo?
Yeah. I think I just like his efficiency. He's not going to give you those dribbles or those beautiful passes. He just knows what he needs to do in front of goal, and that's why he's currently in the top 3 of scorers in the Premier League behind Haaland and Thiago. And for him to be a midfielder getting those numbers is quite impressive.
Yeah, I hear it.
Yeah, so Henry, beginning of the year, Man City had a very, very funny form. 0-0 with Sunderland, 1-1 with Chelsea, 1-1 with Bournemouth. And of course, they signed Semenyo and Guehi, and they smashed exit at 10-1 and continued to have a good run of form before losing to Man United and Bodo Glimt. But after getting so many wins on the bounce, they had their last 3 Premier League games. I've seen them win leads in the game that they were outrightly outplayed, draw with Nottingham Forest, and draw with West Ham. How much of a concern is their Premier League form, bearing in mind that Arsenal is about to run away with this?
I think for the majority of their games, even the ones they won, I wasn't really convincing. I think it's just been papering. The results has been, papering over the cracks. But immediately you start seeing those draws, then you really look into the team properly. I think it has been evident for everyone that the team has not been. It's not the way it was a couple of years ago. But I attribute that basically to a change of system that Guardiola has been trying to implement this season.
Yeah.
The players have not been consistent enough to do that. I think for them this is a transition year, and if they're able to get away with a trophy or something, at the end of the season, I think it should be a positive for them. But it has been all year long that their problems have been documented, and it's not something new. Even though they've gone on a couple of winning runs, it hasn't really been convincing, at least to me. I think everyone would agree with me on that.
Yeah. So Rory, how big of a miss is Guehi for them in this final?
Yeah, it's a massive miss, obviously. Like, although I mentioned earlier that signing these Premier League proven players aren't really ideal for the biggest stage, because they're just not experienced enough. I think it's really clear to see that Guehi's definitely brought some stability in that back line. He was the captain, obviously, at Crystal Palace, so he's almost like the leader in that back 4. I know Ruben Diaz is their captain, I believe, but Guehi has added a little bit more leadership to the back 4. He is young as well. I think, is he not 24, 23?
25, or thereabout, yeah.
Yeah, 25. So obviously he's got Ruben Diaz to learn more from. Obviously, we've got Guardiola as well, who is currently injured, so that's going to be a massive miss for them too. I think to miss both of their best centre backs, you could argue, because I think Guardiola has gone above Ruben Diaz in the pecking order in terms of quality um, this
Sorry.
season. But obviously, Ruben Diaz, based on his reputation, and there's a reason why he is their captain. You could argue, he could probably drag them over the line, and that's who Man City are obviously looking at in terms of leadership. But then again, like Guehi, because he's much younger and he's got a lot more room to develop. Because let's be honest, Ruben Diaz is on the decline at the moment. I'm not saying he's had a rubbish season or anything, because I think he's actually been quite solid, but he's still not the same Diaz as what we've seen in the last 3 to 4 years, because he is getting on a little bit. Whereas Guehi, as I said, brings stability in that back line. He would have brought stability to anyone, to be honest with you. So it's not really a shock to me. They really did try, didn't they, Man City, to appeal it? And if they would have got away with that, I would be fuming, I'm not going to lie. Because, we had to witness, back in the Europa League season 2018, where Aubameyang was cup tied and he couldn't play. So, and, to be honest, you could argue Semenyo should not be playing either, because
because Semenyo played the third round game against for Bournemouth against Brentford.
So they got away with that big time. But whether Semenyo's playing or not, there's still no excuses for me, because even when Semenyo's been playing, City have been, off the back of some really poor results. So we still should be, winning this final, regardless of who's playing. Whether Guehi's playing or not, Arsenal should be winning this final, and I think we would have won this final anyway, even if Guehi was playing. But now he's not playing, and Donnarumma isn't going to be starting in the final. That should give us that sort of motivation. Not saying Trafford's terrible or anything, but in comparison to Donnarumma, like it's
like night and day, man.
Chalk and cheese, So
I agree.
I think obviously it's a massive miss, because as I said, he brings stability in the back line, and when he's not there, it feels like Man City do struggle.
Yeah. So, Henry, why did he go wrong for Phil Foden? Just 2 campaigns ago, he was the player of the year. He even went to the Euros, didn't really impress as much. And he was playing consistency this campaign. He even had that purple patch where he scored like 4 or 5 goals. Everyone and their mothers and their dogs in FPL had him. But right now, he cannot even seem to come close to the team. And we know he's not injured. So, in your own opinion, where did he go wrong for Foden?
If it were to be this season, I would have probably attributed it down to a change of tactic, But I think last season it was also shambolic. So I don't know. It's particularly difficult to pinpoint exactly where the problem is, because he's a exceptionally gifted and technical player, but for some reason he's finding it really difficult to reach the heights that he once had. I don't know if he's suffering from success syndrome, or I don't know. Sometimes after you win like the player of the season, a certain expectation is being
placed upon you. Yeah.
Placed upon you, and if you're not able to meet up to that, there's this extra pressure. So I don't know if I don't know if he needs to look inwards and be like, I can reach back those heights, but he needs to do that without the extra pressure that he's placing upon himself or what the media is placing upon him. So I don't know if I would attribute that down to the extra pressure, or something has changed within the team, or is a lack of confidence that he has experienced, especially with the loss of form. I think it's a mixture of everything, but he needs to really look down, because this summer is going to be very crucial for him. I think if he's not going to be playing next season, I think the next move is probably, And I mean, obviously, I don't think he will make the World Cup right now,
Yeah,
based on the way.
he wasn't called up for the last squad, right?
I'm not quite sure, but I don't think he's gonna make the World Cup like, on current form.
Yeah, I
It's
agree.
looking really bleak for him. But in general, in terms of his career, I mean, if he's gonna be sneaking up the place again next season, I think he might have to drop down a couple of
Clubs, yeah, and
maybe
pick up
a
his form
couple of clubs.
again.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so let's go to Arsenal's form. Have shown very very good form. I remember how we all went into meltdown as fans when we drew that game against Wolves. But since then, we've had 6 wins from 7 games. Our defense remains solid. Our control in midfield is evident, and we started having some critical goals too. So, Rory, in the course of all the games we've played so far, from when we drew against Wolves to where we are now, which player has been the most outstanding to you?
What, all season?
No. From the Wolves game to where
Oh,
we are
from the
now.
Wolves game. I want to
So,
say, I would say
okay.
David Raya, to be honest with you, because I think if it wasn't for him, I don't think we'd pull through in a lot of them results, to be honest. I think he's pretty much made a big save in all of them, right? I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, against Chelsea, he made a couple of big saves. Everton, he made a big save. Brighton, I think he made
Brighton, yeah, made a huge
a
save
couple
too.
of decent saves. He's pretty much
Even
made,
Spurs, that
yes,
one
Spurs as well.
Richarlison
Leverkusen.
had, that looked good, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty much been every game since that, brain fart he had against Wolves. He's pretty much had a big save in every single game from then, which is unbelievable. I think Hincapié has definitely stepped up. In fact, I think he's been excellent all season. But I think since that Wolves game, he's been one of our best defenders, to be honest. Which sounds
Mhm.
mental when you've got Saliba, Gabriel, and Jurriën Timber. But I also think he's been our best defender. He's been
Yeah,
better out of the three. Not to take away, Saliba and Gabriel. Timber's obviously fallen off a little bit, but Saliba and Gabriel have been solid since the Wolves game. But I think Capier is just standard 8 out of 10 every single week. It feels like, and especially since that Wolves game, and obviously scored that night as
yeah.
well.
Mhm.
I think he deserves credit. Who else would I say has impressed me?
Yeah, so I hear me. I see the consistency of what it is he's saying. He's calling Raya, he's calling Gabriel, he's calling Ikapi because it's very evident that our strikers have been stinking up the place. So right
Yeah,
now,
I have
is there any
somebody
attacker
in
that you
mind.
can even give any props to from that run of Wolves up until now?
I feel like for me, Eze
Yeah,
has been particularly impressive. I think he came on against
So
Mansfield, changed the game. Against Leverkusen, as we saw, came up with a vital goal. Against Tottenham, he had 2 goals in that game. So
yeah,
I think he has been a bit influential in the way we've played. Um, I mean, David Raya, he's always been good so far. At least from the last 2 seasons. He has really given us like a solid 8/10 every game. But I
yeah.
think Eze has been the one that has impressed me the most because at some point I felt like he
Up
wasn't
for
going to
it,
be
yeah.
he wasn't going to be part of the team, going forward. But he looks like he's he feels like he's part of the team now. You can tell in his performance, in the way he carries himself. He feels like he is a part of the furniture right now, and I think you can see that in the games. He's been a bit more expressive and he's not been shy to take on shots and be a bit more creative. So I think for me, Eze has been just a little bit
Okay,
in terms of the outfit
awesome.
player.
Awesome. So, Rory, we have basically been on all four fronts. In the Premier League, nine
yeah.
points clear. In the FA Cup quarterfinals, in the Champions League quarterfinal, and of course, we're in the Carabao Cup final now. If you were to sacrifice any competition to allow the lads win maybe the other three, which one would it be?
I don't really like this question because I don't like throwing any cup competitions in the bin. But if I had to choose one, it would be the FA Cup.
So,
But
so you lose to Southampton, or you get to the semis and lose?
no, I'm not saying I would want to lose to Southampton, but if I had to throw away one competition, like whether it be in the semi-finals, in the final, whatever, right? Just in general, I think if we were going to get knocked out at any stage of the FA Cup, I think that's the competition where, despite like me loving the FA Cup, right? That's the only trophy I've seen us win in the last,
6 years.
bloody 18 years of my living, right? I've only seen us win,
Yeah.
FA Cups, right, and Community Shields. But I think in the position we've got ourselves in, and the fact we've only won 2 League Cups in our history,
Yeah.
I would rather see us win the League Cup this season than the FA Cup. I don't know about you guys, but I think at the moment, I would love to win this trophy, as a lot of Arsenal fans would. But I think the reason why, as I said, I want us to prioritise this trophy rather than the FA Cup it's just because, again, I just think it's the first trophy that you can win, and it gives you that sort of motivation
Momentum.
from now until the
Yeah.
end of the season. Whereas the FA Cup final is around May time. So I think if you win that League Cup, which, as I said, I would prioritise more than the FA Cup, it would then give you that momentum to then go and win that FA Cup, Champions League, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, the Champions League, I want us to win because we've never won the Champions League. The Premier League, I've never seen in my life, right? We've gone 22 years without a Premier League title, so we're starving.
That's quite a lot,
Um,
man.
the League Cup have already, done my explanation. So, like, I think the only trophy that I would be tempted to throw in the bin would be the FA Cup. That's the only trophy at the moment I don't really like. It has, I wouldn't say don't really care about, but has less significance to me, I would say.
Okay. So Henry, same question.
Yeah, I agree with Rory. The FA Cup, I think we've won that far too many times. I would rather see us. I think the Carabao Cup, we haven't won it in 38 years. That's a
Wow.
trophy I've also never seen Arsenal win. The Champions League, obviously, that also, I think the Premier League, unfortunately, I've seen us win that twice, so it's not going to be new for me. But we haven't won that in such a long time, so I feel like I can't really fault the boys if they want to go for that one only. But I mean, the FA Cup would be something that I would be willing to part ways with if we're going to win like a treble. I don't know if that counts as a treble, winning the Carabao Cup.
Yeah, it does. When Mourinho won the Carabao Cup, the Europa League, and the FA Cup, I think they called it the treble nonetheless. Although
I
it's like
mean,
a poverty treble.
technically, I think Manchester United won the 2008 Carabao Cup, like the Carling Cup. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not quite sure. And they won the Premier League and the Champions League. But I can check that. But I mean, it was never referred to as a treble. So I don't know if it would still be something. But I mean, I don't really care. If we win the Carabao Cup, the Champions League, and the Premier League, I mean, it's an amazing season. I think that's something that no Arsenal fan would have experienced.
Okay, so Rory, let's talk about Arsenal's form in general. This season we've lost just 3 games. We've had more than 40 wins. We've basically matched the win record we had in 07-08. And obviously, we have a couple of fixtures the same kind on paper. So, where do you think this squad can go to at the end of the campaign? Do you think the kind of form they are showing will be enough to guarantee the league, the Carabao Cup on Sunday, and potentially the Champions League?
Well, in terms of like what we should prioritize, again, I mean, the same situation of just us wanting to go on a really nice cup run in all four of them, right? I want us to go far as possible in the Carabao Cup, obviously, which we have, FA Cup, Premier League, and Champions League, which, of course, includes the fact we've got to win at least maybe one or two of them. Well, in fact, one's definitely a given, surely. But, based on how the season's played out, I'll be shocked if we don't win 2 trophies this season. Although, to be fair, I don't know, we have a tendency of bottling it. So, I'll keep my mouth shut for now. But I think out of the 4, it's difficult because a lot of us have said the Premier League, right? Because we've not won it in 22 years. And I think at first I said the Champions League, but when you look back on it, I think you would rather win the Premier League because I think over 38 games, I think for 8 months, you provide that sort of like consistency, whereas the Champions League, it's obviously now 8 games in a league phase, plays until January, and then basically it's just tournament football, isn't it? Like it's knockout games, 2 legs, like anyone can knock out anyone.
Yeah,
whereas the Premier League,
irrespective of your form, actually.
Yeah, so like with the Premier League, I know like, anyone can still beat anyone in the Premier League, and it's very competitive this year, I would say. But whoever wins it, you're the most consistent. Whereas in the Champions League,
games is really crazy.
you don't have to be the best to win that competition. We've seen it already with the likes of Chelsea a couple of times. Tournament football in general, actually, like
Greece in 2004. All they did was just score a single goal and defend till they get to the next round, and it worked for them.
Exactly. Like you got Inter Milan winning the Champions League as well. That's another one. They weren't the best team in that competition. Chelsea, when they had Di Matteo in charge, they weren't the best in that competition. They came out underdogs against Bayern Munich. I think they had an abundance of injuries. They still beat them in the final on penalties.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be the best to win the Champions League. However, in the Premier League, you always have to be the best to win it. And yes, I know rival fans will have their assumptions about, the level of this league is shit. It's the worst Premier League season of all time. It's basically what you'll get every time anyone is top of the league. The level of quality is shit if them lot are winning the league, blah, 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 blah. Every single time. They always want to downplay whenever you're top of the league. And that's the problem for me. But the reality is you have to be the best to win the Premier League, whereas in the Champions League, you don't have to. Right? You can get away with a shit house, right, in that Champions League, because over 2 legs, you can play for a point. Well, not for a point, but you can play for a draw. Yeah, and then take it back to your ground, and that's when I feel like atmospheres are much better in Europe as opposed to the Premier League, and that's
but I think one of the best things they did was to take out that away goal rule because it was crap as far as I was concerned. Like you see what happened between Juve and Gala. If Juve had won that game 3-0 and the first leg was 5-3, it would have been enough for them to qualify. But obviously, that game went into extra time and Galatasaray scored 2 more goals because of the red card. So I think that also added to the quality of the competition. I also like the new format. So Henry, what's your take on this new Champions League format? And how far do you think we can go in that competition?
But just to touch on the issue of the Champions League and the Premier League, I get the fact when you say that the Premier League, you have to be consistent, but there has to be a reason why we haven't won it in 138 years or something. There has to be a reason why. And as painful as it is, I'm tired of hearing this. You have to win the Champions League. Like, if we can do it this season, I would have that over the Premier League, because we have 13 league titles. No
Yeah.
one can take that away from us. We don't have any Champions League.
Never won the Champions League. And
We've
trust
never
me,
won the Champions League.
I hate talking with Chelsea fans when it comes to Champions League because you just keep
Oh my
quiet.
goodness. I mean, I understand like where you say, okay, yeah, you can go for a draw, but we haven't been able to do it. That's the problem. We haven't been able to consistently go to the Champions League, get the job done, get to the final. I think we've been to the final just once. Semi-final, I
Yeah.
think maybe twice or thrice. I mean, it's not a really easy competition the way it's been made out to be. It's really difficult to consistently get to the semi-finals and to get to the finals. I mean, here and there you can get the luck of the draw, but I mean, you really have to be a good team to still be in that position. And so far we've not been able to do it, which is very, very, as an Arsenal fan, I think that's something that you look back on and you feel like
You dropped the ball.
how is that even possible that we've not been able to win even one Champions League
In our
in
history,
over
man.
100 years? I mean, it's terrible, you know.
Yeah.
So
I feel that the 03-04 squad would have probably won if they had beaten Chelsea. Because after Chelsea beat us, they went to play Monaco and lost. The Monaco played Porto in that final and also lost. You know, so I feel that was probably one of the best squads we had to win the Champions League. But obviously, we messed up there too.
funnily, I think I watched that game live. That Champions League against Chelsea. Even the first
Wow.
leg, yeah. The second leg at Highbury, I still don't understand how we didn't win that game. I feel like it's just destiny, and I felt like if we had won that game, we would have gone on to win the Champions League in that
Yeah.
2004. I think we would have gone on to win the Champions League because it was Monaco, it was Porto, and they did the job against the big boys. Milan, they knocked them out.
Yeah.
Madrid was also knocked out. I felt like we would have had a real shot at winning the Champions League in that 2004, but somehow the exhaustion from trying to stay unbeaten in the Premier League kind of
Took his toll, yeah.
took its toll. And I don't know if you were active as at that point in time, but we lost out in the FA Cup and in the Champions League in the space of a week.
Yeah, and we also lost out in the Carabao Cup to Middlesbrough over both legs in the semis as well.
In the space of a week, we lost out in the FA Cup and in the Champions League.
But that used to be a normal thing for us, where we would lose the Champions League to Bayern Munich 10-2, now lose 4-0 to the FA Cup to Man United. You know, when guys will have that February period where we just lose all the competitions at once, and we're not having the Premier League, I'm like, okay, we're here again. We're seeing a lot in this club, man. Jeez.
Yeah. So, but yeah, to touch on the new format of the Champions League, I think it's been exciting so far. I think definitely with the removal of the away goals, I think it has been a bit more open, because then you have to get a result away. You just can't sit for hope to score a goal and then shut up shop, So I think it's been a bit more expansive. We've seen some great results along the way, 7-2, 8-3, 8-2, stuff like that. It's exciting to see as a neutral. I also like the format where, if the higher you finish, you get the second leg advantage.
That's a really good one.
I think it gives incentives for every group stage game to be taken seriously. In comparison to,
and I think I also love the fact that you have blockbuster matches as well. You get to play Madrid versus Liverpool, Arsenal, Bayern in the group stages and stuff like that. That's fair.
In comparison to the old format where you only needed to get 10, 11 points, maybe your first 3 games, you maybe draw or win the next one, and then the last 2 games are just completely, flat.
Like I remember in our run to the final in 2006, our group stage was Ajax, Sparta Prague, FC Thun.
FC Thun, yes. I remember that.
Smoked them, played Real Madrid, smoked them, played Juventus, smoked them, played Villarreal, and of course, Barcelona. Damn. Oh well. So now let's talk about injuries for a bit. Right now, I think I didn't give us anything in the press conference as you'd expect, but people that are currently in the injury list are Martin Odegaard, Jurgen Timber, Mikel Merino. We know for sure that Merino is done till probably the end of the season. As for Jurgen Timber, if I know Rory had touched on this earlier in the stream, but Henry, let me ask you this question. If Timber is not 100%, would you risk playing White or Mosquera? Rory gave his opinion earlier on. I'd like to hear from you on this.
Um, I feel like for this season, I don't trust White enough. He's not been. I don't know if that's down to the fact that he's been injured for a while. He's looked really off the pace,
Yeah.
especially in games where the opposition, have an attacking threat. If they're sitting back, he would be a very good candidate to start a game. But for a team like Man City that are going to try and hold us, especially with Doku on that side,
Yeah.
no, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think that I'm going to trust White to start that game. I don't know. I feel like I would just go safe with Mosquera, go with my Hincapi on the left, keep the game
Yeah.
as tight as possible. If we score from a set piece, so be it, or just something, make it tight, just make City ruffled, just very inconvenient for them. That's what I would want in that final. I wouldn't risk starting Ben White just because he gives us something, in the attack.
I agree. So, Rory, for City, I think the only major injury they have is Josko Gvardiol. And of course, McGahey is going to be suspended or ineligible for the game. Knowing the kind of gaps they have at the back, do you think Arsenal has enough in the tank to exploit it, or do you think they're going to get a replacement that can actually do a job to keep us at bay?
I think we do, to be honest with you. It's just I feel like in these sort of games, with what I've noticed about Arteta is he'll start, for instance, Trossard on the left when you could argue Martinelli is probably better suited to this game, in all honesty, because he can get in behind. But in the low blocks, it's like, or I should say against the low blocks, he starts Martinelli when we know he can't play against low blocks because there's no space to exploit. And that's the issue for me. I feel like Martinelli has to be involved in this game at some point. Like, you start Trossard for the first 60 minutes. Fair enough. Doesn't work out, then you bring on Martinelli. You could argue Madueke should be added into that mix instead of Saka, which sounds mad, by the way, because Saka's probably going to be captain on the day.
Yeah.
But I think Noni, with the directness he brings, like they're going to start Doku, guarantee, on the left-hand side for the same reason, because he is direct. He's not afraid to, run at his man. Madueke is the same. Obviously, Doku doesn't have any product.
Yeah.
I get that. But, neither does Madueke. And I think it's the same with what I said about Trossard. If that doesn't work out, you bring on Martinelli. It's the same with, as I said, Saka and Madueke. I think if Saka is not working out again and he's having yet another stinker, you bring on Noni, who is direct and he can run at his fullback. Because Man City are there to be got at. Like, obviously, last time we played them, we decided to play 3 holding midfielders in midfield, and we got exploited for that. Well, we didn't really get exploited because City decided to go. Was it? They decided to go 10 at the back in the second half. They brought off Haaland.
Yeah.
And we it's almost like we paid the price for it, because if we would have, I'm not saying go for full gun ho because it's Man City, but if we would have actually played with creativity that day, then we could have beaten them. Because it's still the City team is not the same.
Same thing with Liverpool at Anfield too.
Yeah, exactly. So this is what I'm saying. He needs to play with a little bit of bravery. Although what I don't want to see, right, is that same front three that hasn't been working.
Martinelli, Gyökeres, and Madueke.
However, in this sort of game, it could benefit them. It's just we don't play. We decide to play them against the low blocks, which is the frustrating thing for me, because When Nolly doesn't have space to exploit, exactly the same as Martinelli, really, because he doesn't have the end product. He can't be like as effective as he is if he had space.
Yeah.
It's the same. It's the same with Martinelli. Gyökeres likewise. So I feel like what we got to do is you want to start Saka, Martinelli, and Gyökeres. Change it up if it's not working. If Martinelli's not working, bring on Trossard because we know what he can provide off the bench. If it's not working with Saka on the right hand side, you bring on Noni Madueke. Although to be fair, I don't know who'll be captain at that in this race. Probably Gabriel, won't it?
Yeah.
If we bring off Saka. So I think that the wingers have got a crucial part to play. To be honest with you, on Sunday, because if they don't turn up, then it could be a problem, you know. And of course, the midfielder's got to turn up as well. We've got to win that midfield battle because Supplemendi's been like very disappointing in big games. Obviously, like midweek against Leverkusen, played very well. Rightfully taken off as well, so he is rested for the weekend. So he should be fit and ready to go. Declan Rice has already stated that he's absolutely shattered, but still he's got to pull through this one as well because this is a final we're talking about, and Man City. I don't even know who they're going to play in midfield. It might be Bernardo Silva, Rodri, and
Reinders or Rodri, yeah.
Yeah, or maybe even O'Reilly, to be fair, because they might play a Nori at left back. So we've got to win that midfield battle as well as, our wingers actually being direct, not afraid. And that's obviously down to the manager as well. He needs to actually set them out to play direct instead of just, playing it back every now and then because...
that's really tiring.
Yeah.
I agree. Okay, so Henry, let's talk about the latest results. So as you can see here, we've had 4 wins in our last 5, and Man City has had just a win in 5. Now, looking at the games we've played so far in the last 5, Brighton was 1-0, Man City was 2-1, Leverkusen was 1-1, Everton was 2-0, and Bayer Leverkusen again was 2-0. What has stood out for you in these 5 games, in this 5-game block that we've played? As an Arsenal fan, what has stood out for you?
If you're talking purely on results, like all the results, they are super important. But if you're talking purely on performance, I think that the game against Leverkusen was probably the peak of the bunch for me. It was a game where we've not had a lot of games this season where, as a fan, you can sit behind the TV and feel like I'm 100% sure that we're winning this game. It's been a bit of a roller coaster, especially in our games this season. But the game against Leverkusen, from start to finish, the control was there, the pressure. We were creating quality chances. That was something that has been a problem. I think this season it just feels like a lot of the games that we've played. Feels like we've played them in second gear. We literally sleepwalk through the match and then we just get a goal and it's just kind of here and there, and then at the end maybe we score from a counter because the other team is like trying to attack. That's been the way the season has panned out. But I think that game against Leverkusen was it was just reminiscent of the days of Arsene Wenger. When we just went full throttle at teams at the Emirates, and so if you ask me, I would say that was the peak of the bunch for me.
Okay, so sticking with you before I get to Rory, what were your concerns in the Brighton and Everton game? Even though we win, did you have any concerns in those 2 games?
Yes, they were not particularly great in terms of the way the game itself panned out. I think the opponents were creating far too many chances against an Arsenal team that I expect, especially the Everton game. We were at home. The Brighton game I can forgive because it's an away game. But the Everton game, I don't expect Everton, to. I did expect them to sit back, so I don't expect them to create a lot of chances. But the first half, it was they hit the bar. They had a couple of good chances in that game. So I think the chances that we considered in those games were far too much than what I expected. So that worries me a lot.
Okay, fair enough. So, Rory, same question. What are your concerns in the Everton and Brighton game?
Um, I just think it was the movement, to be honest with you, and the willingness to actually kill off the game. I know we ended up winning, against Everton 2-0 in the end, but I'm looking at the Brighton game in particular. Like the moments we bloody score, whether that be us going 1-0 up or it's 1-1, it's kind of bad like how incapable we are of playing football when we go 1-0 up. It's almost like we take our foot off the gas and we play for the 1-0, which shouldn't be the case in the Premier League because you can get punished very easily. And that's
Yeah.
the problem. Like we've got to learn how to kill off games. But yeah, like I think that's probably the problem really. Just the lack of movement in the final third when we go 1-0 up, and the fact players are just not taking risks because, again, like, yes, we 1-0 up, but you've got to kill off the game. And that's the problem.
I agree.
100%.
Okay,
And
so
Man United scored, by the way.
okay,
Fernandes.
so okay, cool. So let's look at the predicted lineups. So what I have here right now for Arsenal is Raya in goal, Nkapie on the left back, Timber right back with Saliba and Gabriel in the middle, then Zubimendi, Rice, and Eze as in midfield, Trossard on the left, Saka on the right, Gyökeres in attack. So Henry, is there anyone you would change from this formation, and why?
Um, can we just get like Sanchez, Ozil, and Aubameyang back or something?
Yeah,
Um,
no. We're not
and
dreaming here, bro.
just to touch on the attack again, I personally don't feel like we are the best team to hot City. We don't have that pace and quality in the final third. I feel like we are more of a control team. And usually, if you want a hot City, you have to exploit because obviously they play like the high line, and you
Yeah,
need to exploit the spaces in behind. Saka is not blessed with pace. Martinelli has pace, but his finishing, his output, his final
horrible.
ball is basically just horrible. So, and Gyökeres is what it is. I don't know. I think I have mixed feelings about Gyökeres, and but again, in terms of that ball in behind, we don't have it. So I'm literally I've been doing that the whole week. I've been analyzing the game and I'm thinking how best do we hot City? I think our best chance would be
He said this.
maybe from a set piece because I don't if we're really slow, I think City are going to regroup quickly. And that is something that I worry and I the whole week I've been thinking about that. There's the fear if you start Trossard, it's not going to be pacey enough. If you start Martinelli, he runs out of energy, and in the second half, let's assume the game is still probably scoreless. And you bring on Trossard. I don't know. I don't know how we go from there. And the same thing with Saka. If you take him out, if you take Saka out, and you bring in
Madueke.
Madueke, who has been a bit of a hit and miss. On a good day it goes in, and if it's not a good day, which has been far too many, his output, his final decision, and his final ball has not also been the best. So it's a bit of a difficult one. I honestly, I'm just. I mean, it's good that we are just fans and pundits. We can speculate all we care. I'm so glad I don't have to make the decision. On the lineup. But yeah, if I were to looking at this lineup, I don't think Timber is fit enough to start this game, man.
Okay. So Rory,
I don't think Timber is
looking
fit.
looking at our lineup, who would you change?
Um, Probably Trossard for Martinelli, maybe. But apart from that, I think that's exactly what I would go with.
Okay, awesome. So let's look at the City lineup as set up here. So Donnarumma in goal, Ignori as the left back, Nunez on the right back, of course with no Gahey, with the Kushanov and Diaz. Rodri as a holding midfielder with O'Reilly, Silva and Semenyo, and Mamouche and Haaland. I think I've also put Doku in this formation, right? So if you're bringing in Doku, who will lose his spot in the team?
Mamouche.
Okay, then Semenyo will go to attack, right?
Yeah.
Alongside Haaland. Okay, fair enough. Rory, any thoughts?
But I'm hoping he starts O'Reilly at left back. I'm praying he starts O'Reilly at left back instead of in midfield.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely Marmouche because he's been in some decent form in the League Cup for some reason. So, and to be fair, like I do rate him. Like I wanted Arsenal to sign him in January last year, so he's definitely like one of the. I think I'm probably more afraid of playing against Marmouche than Haaland right now. You could argue that may sound mad to say, but like I think Marmouche, you could argue, is a better footballer than Haaland. In fact, I think he is a better footballer than Haaland, really. That's completely bemused, you know.
I agree. All right, so then let's look at.
I don't know, like how you make that sound crazy, bro. Like,
yeah, but then again, I know Haaland is all about that output, and when you're not seeing the output anymore, then the frailty is kind of coming to the fore.
yeah.
So let's look at key tactical battles. I'm expecting that where we need to do well is one, our wingers taking on their fullbacks and the clashes in midfield. So Henry, where do you think are the points we can win this game from?
Again, it's the midfield. Everything is the midfield, especially against City. If you can win that midfield battle, I think you already have a big chance. I think we're a bit more physical, than City. So if we're able to overpower them in midfield, I think we will have better chances at winning the game.
Awesome, Rory.
I think. Oh, it's going to be an interesting one, because I think probably I've already mentioned the midfield battle. I think that's going to be really key between Declan Rice, Rodri, etc. Bournemouth have just scored. Damn, 1-1. But I think yeah, as I said, the midfield battle is going to be key. Between Zubimendi, Declan Rice, then you've got Man City, O'Reilly, Rodri, and if Cherky plays, because it is the Carabao Cup, he might actually start Foden, etc. So I actually don't know who's going to be playing in midfield for Man City, whereas for Arsenal we kind of know already.
Yeah.
I think Bernardo and Rodri are going to be. For sure.
Yeah, definitely. It's just about who plays the 10. But yeah, obviously, whoever plays at right back for Arsenal is going to be key as well.
Because the battle with Doku, right? I'm really hoping it's Timber. I don't mind Mosquera, but Doku, someone like Timber can actually hold Doku. Mosquera might be sucked in, like someone
who's experienced something like this before, has he? Final, a Wembley, stakes are high. I don't know, if I feel confident in Mosquera to deal with Doku. Against Brighton, he was quite poor, and then the following game against Mansfield, he was poor as well. So. I feel like out of position in a final is definitely a risk, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So if Timber starts, obviously no problem whatsoever. So, although to be fair, Doku did cause Timber quite a few problems in the early fixture. So, but then again, what I'm saying is I prefer Timber at right back than a Ben White who's just come back from injury, Mosquera, being forced to play out of position.
Yeah, that'll be a challenge. Henry, do you have any comments?
I think we should also look at the bigger picture here. what are the chances that Timber gets injured again if he's rushed back for this game? And this time around, because I heard it's a groin injury or something. So maybe potentially, re-injuring the groin and then going out for a longer period, because that's a real possibility.
Yeah, true. All right, guys. So finally, let's get your predictions. So what's your final prediction, Henry?
I'm gonna go for a 2-1. I think City are gonna score, but I hope that we are gonna be able to get 2 goals at the end of the day. So I think 2-1 for us now.
Rory?
1-0 Arsenal, Gabriel corner.
Awesome.
Come back to it.
Awesome. That would be dope, man. Like, that would be so dope. Okay, so we have a couple of folks on the chat. Is our man Dom? He said, to be honest, I want to know why.
What did he say? What did he say?
He said he wants to know why we have not withdrawn everybody from international duty.
Oh my lord!
You're just having fun right now.
But I read that I read Declan Rice and Saka are going to be joining up later on.
Yeah, late. Yeah.
They shouldn't be going at all. Shouldn't be going at all whatsoever.
So it's like you also made another comment that you think Timber might be injured because that's done by Everton and he didn't pick it up on time. Then again, you want a Gabriel goal. What about an own goal from the corner kick? Won't that be epic? Right now, own goal has just scored, 7 goals for us. So we need to rack up the count.
We need to get the double figures.
Yeah. So a lot of people that will take it seriously for a second. Of course, Rory, your man. So guys, DHS Unplugged, what's going on? Henry.
Like I said, I'm gonna be dropping something tomorrow, hopefully, for the preview, and I hope we win. If we win, there's gonna be like a banter video coming out on Sunday after the final. So yeah.
Wow, mine.
So stay tuned for something. Awesome. Shit. No.
Rory.
Well,
the different knock.
What's coming up, innit? There should be a match reaction Sunday. Obviously, Arsenal out on Monday, where I don't know, might have a quiz lined up. So yeah, seeing as it is the international break, I tend to do these like every time there is an international break. So yeah, I think it would be quite funny to do a quiz at some point, an Arsenal-related quiz, that is, at some point next week, whilst the international break is occurring. But yeah, that's it really. I'm not going to be doing any England content because bun that, like, Jesus Christ, like, who really cares about flipping England at this rate? Like Uruguay and Japan, I believe, playing.
Yeah,
it's pointless.
And it's pissing me off because the last time we played a friendly, Brazil versus Senegal, Gabriel had an injury. So
yeah, it's basically the worst part
of the season.
Yeah, well, it's the worst part of the season, but it's also like the worst period for content creators as well because there's literally nothing to upload.
Like we're grasping on straws, man, like full-scale trenches.
Yeah.
So Dom is like, saying hi to you, Henry. So you spoke a lot of sense yesterday. All right, guys. So don't forget to follow DHS Unplugged. And of course, follow Red RD. I'm going to put your details in the description for you guys to follow them. They do awesome content. Looking forward to seeing what you cook in the course of this campaign. And of course, for you all about us now, thanks for being in tonight's stream. Henry, Rory, you guys are awesome as always. Hope you all come back in your stream, Rory, on Monday, celebrating the win. Because if we lose that game, I wonder how your stream will be so cold, man. I told you we should have played Ryan instead of Kepa, and now this is where we are. Then Dom will not be like, don't worry, they're gonna go on international break.
No, whenever you see this expression from Dom, you just know what's coming. By the way.
Yeah. All right, guys. Stay safe, man. Bye, everyone.